Let's do this.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm pumped.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
All right, let's do this.
All right, let's do this.
Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Let's do this.
Now let's do this.
Let's do it.
Let's get this going.
All right. Welcome to 2022.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And it is the Coaching Life Podcast, Season 6. First episode of Season 6. It's been a while. I feel like it's been a while since we've been sitting here, Coach.
Couple weeks, right?
How you been? Yeah. I don't know if anybody's missed us or not.
No one's reached out. No one's reached out and said, "Hey, where's your episode from last week?"
I did have one person say that they're getting caught up. They're using the time to get caught up. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe they've been listening. They've just been listening to
I got you.
past episodes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Going back and reviewing some of their favorites, things like
podcasts.
that.
Yeah.
Sure. I actually do too.
All the it's like I guess I'd put us on that, like, the Jocko Willink podcast and Joe Rogan and
In terms of length of time per episode.
Yeah, if everyone out there complaining about how long we talk, go listen to a Jocko podcast one time.
Well, the difference there is it's pretty captivating for about 2.5 hours.
Captivating.
There's nothing we do not hold a candle in our conversations to the conversations that Jocko will
that's
cast
true.
for 2.5 hours.
That's true. That gets your heart beating.
Yeah, it does.
Sure,
it does. Yeah. So we'll try to do our best to keep ours down under an hour this year. How's that sound? It's going to be hard today.
We started with being I know we've got a lot to talk about.
What time? I mean, we've been sitting here for almost an hour already, talking over an hour. Well, I'm energized. Are you energized,
Coach? I'm exhausted.
Good deal.
You know why?
Why?
I didn't sleep at all last night.
You had that adrenaline was pumping.
It was. I laid down in bed last night and my heart was beating.
What'd you do?
We had our first lifting session
for your baseball program.
For the baseball program.
Awesome.
For Meg's baseball program. And it was great.
It does.
It was a great experience, and guys worked hard, and it was just, I saw your tweet. Mm-hmm. Actually, you texted me and said, "How'd it go?"
Right.
And I told you it was great. And then I saw your tweet later that you were energized, and I'm like, man, that's exactly how
you don't have to lift a weight as a coach. Every time you work out, it's hard to your heart's pumping, your metabolism's speeding up, and it's hard to just go to sleep right away. That's why I would rather work out in the morning, because I'm energized for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
But even if you're not working out, if you're not the one doing it, but you're coaching, and you see your kids busting their butts like that, like our windows were all fogged up and steamed. We got windows in our weight room, and I was like, look at that. And the kids even pointed it out. They're like, we got some stuff going on in here tonight, and it was fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's I didn't sleep well, and I'm kind of tired today.
Yeah, right.
I'm definitely looking forward to going back and
3 days a week.
3 days a week.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good deal.
Yep.
Good deal. Well, I tell you, we've had Christmas, we've had New Year's.
Yeah.
And then we've had the greatest holiday. I've had the greatest holiday that you could have, and that is the American Baseball Coaches Association conference, which was in Chicago. And you didn't get to go this year, but in the middle of that conference, I texted you. You did. You went up to watch the
Brownies
play.
beat the Bengals.
Yeah. You'd already had
Lucas is listening
previously
out there.
purchased tickets. I don't know if you want to open that can. Lucas probably like, I'll give up that game to be playing this Saturday at 4:30.
He's heard it before.
Yeah. Lucas,
next year's our year.
I could have connected with Lucas because he lived. He said he was about a mile and a half away from where our conference was. But sorry, Lucas, we didn't get a chance to connect. If you do listen, but it was our days were jam packed, and it was a really awesome experience because we got to take Brock, my son, to the conference as well, and he was there representing Alderson Broaddus University, and of course himself as well, just bettering himself. Sure. And so we did everything together. We went to all the sessions together, but we were, you see my notebook here. We were both just our pens were smoked. I went through 2 pens. This tool pen that I use is my favorite pen. I actually had to. I noticed this morning as I was writing with the same pen I took to the conference, it ran out of ink. So I have to do another pen. But it is a phenomenal experience. If those of you who are listening don't know what I'm talking about, the ABCA, the American Baseball Coaches Association, has been around since about 1945, I believe. and it covers baseball coaches from all over the country. And so the membership for ABCA is literally over 13,000 people. It's incredible. And these are living people.
And all different levels.
And so they've been all
of
different levels of baseball. So it's just about baseball. There are things there, like, so from professionals down there, professional coaches that are there. There were a lot of people. I met a lot of people from organizations, professional organizations, Baltimore Orioles, New York Mets, New York Yankees. I mean, you see logos from every baseball organization, literally from every walk of life. Division I, college, Division II, Division III, NAIA, JUCO, high school, youth ball. I saw guys there with their kids. I saw youth ball coaches there. They have entirely different sessions, particularly tailored to youth ball coaches.
I didn't know that. I didn't realize that.
I didn't realize it either.
Oh, really?
Yeah, youth ball stuff was all downstairs. This convention center it's the largest one in North America, I believe, is what they said. It was phenomenal. I mean, and they were expecting you could set up this room that we were sitting in for main sessions, probably seated 8,000 people.
Nice.
It was incredible. Yeah, and I think 5,000 or so attended, and they had some guys weren't able to come or chose not to come, but they also did online. So I think when you counted the people who attended and you combine them with the people who did virtual attendance, the online clinic, there was over 8,000 people in attendance, which was really, really cool. But I tell you what, being there, my first time there, there are things that I would love to share with you in this podcast today. Just going through my notes, just highlights, and it's not just about baseball. It wasn't all just about baseball, but 95% of it was about baseball, and that's why it was so pumped.
You going to be able to do that in the next 30 minutes?
No, so we have to leave people hanging a little bit, but hey, next year, 2023, was January 5th through 7th, I believe.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's 5th through 7th or 8th. It's in Nashville. So those of you out there who are baseball people, and even if you're not a baseball person, if you're a strength and 3 or 4 of the sessions,
That's a lot of the
3 or
things
4
we've
of my
talked
favorite
about,
sessions were the strength and conditioning folks,
right?
Who are working with a variety of athletes, not just baseball.
Let's be honest. I mean, we can hide it. We can pretend it's not true, but the fact is, strength and conditioning is all about baseball right now. It's all about every sport.
Yeah,
but, I mean, baseball. A lot of that is strength and conditioning. We're kind of leaning that way, and
exactly.
I think we're
especially the movements, right? The movements that are being introduced when you watch someone do plyometric work and jump work, explosive jumps and lateral bounds and things like that. You're like, and everything, all the medicine ball work, all the rotational work that you're doing. You're like, son of a gun. I can see baseball. I can see baseball movements.
Yes.
In all of these things.
Yeah, I've been seeing that for a while now. The it's kind of like a commercial out there, but it's a movement's what it is. Don't train the muscle, train the movement.
Yeah. That's Zach Deccan's thing, right? Movement over maxes.
That's true.
That's the title of his book.
That is, yes.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know that he uses that phrase exactly, but that's exactly what he's saying.
Been used. Right. So I tell you, let me give you an idea of what this time was like. Actually, I should ask you: is there anything in particular you'd like to talk about in our first episode of 2022?
I think I'm good to go.
Yeah, I chose a one word. Did you choose a one word?
I did. We talked about it a little bit, and I'm going to stick with unleash. Unleash in a couple different ways. Yeah.
Let her go. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. I think let it go is the.
There are a lot of
that puts it into perspective. That's the subtitle of the one word.
Let it go and rev it up, right? I mean,
yes.
I mean, not just let things go, but also get after it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let go of that aggression.
Yeah,
right. Let
I picture a dog obviously being leashed up in a little circle area in its yard and wanting to get out, and then as soon as you let it go, it just runs free.
Yeah,
right? That's a cool.
Yeah,
thing.
for me, there's kind of two ends of it, and that's let go of the things that hold you back, and then let go of those positive energies that you're holding back that is going to allow you to move forward. So yeah, that's for me. What's your word?
Thoroughness. Okay. And I tell you what, I usually I'll let you. I'm passing over my ABCA program catalog, so you can look through that as I talk about the program if you'd like. But thoroughness is something. It was probably the easiest word for me to pick in the 5 years I've been picking a one word for the new year. For those of you who are like, what the heck are these guys talking about with one word? Just really quickly, instead of making a New Year's resolution, setting yourself a goal or a resolution that can often be easily broken, and then it creates discouragement, and then you just kind of forget about it by March. We've been choosing a one word for the year that we want to keep as a word that motivates us, a word that is sort of works on principle for us every day of our life. Like I want to devote my life to, in everything that I do, to doing something, or to living in relation to this word, So like some of my past words have been, I've used build, I've used excellence, I've used,
mine was execute last year. Last year was the first one that I did. Yeah.
But I actually, as I was driving one day, I thought, I need to make sure that I am thorough. I actually didn't come up with the word. The words that I had in my mind were attention to detail. I need to become more attention to detail in every aspect of my life. I know that that's going to be a priority for me in my coaching this year as well. And so I think I told you, I'm trying to figure out a word that describes this group of words that I have. And so I landed on thoroughness. And so, I began the new year with, I didn't miss a session. People often would go to these ABCA conferences, and they'll go through and pick what sessions they want to attend and things like that. And I usually do that with the Ohio conference as well, because they're back to back to back to back to back, and at some point you got to eat. And so I'm like, this is my first one. I'm gonna hit them all. And so the only ones we missed the last one because we went ahead and got on the road to come back home. But yeah, that's why. And there's no ink in the pen left. There's no pages left in the notebook.
Let me ask you this: am I going to be ridiculed when I take my laptop to these clinics?
No, a lot of guys do. And the difference at the Ohio clinic is this round table that you and I are sitting on. This Ohio sets up. So the Ohio conference, the coaches conference, is a microcosm. It's going to happen here in a week, a week from this weekend. It's like a mini ABCA. I've noticed, because I've never been to the ABCA, but I've been to the Ohio conference many times.
Now you can correlate it.
And so now I'm like, Ohio does a really good job. In fact, coaches who come to speak, some of the guys across the country that have come to speak at Ohio speak very highly about the Ohio clinic when they get there. They're like, this is one of the best state clinics that they've ever been to.
Nice.
And so they set up round tables in a large room. You're talking still 1,500 coaches in there. I mean, there's, where ABCA may have 3,000 to 5,000 in attendance, or 5,000 to 8,000 in attendance, Ohio will still have 1,500 to 2,500 in attendance, depending on the year. But you got a little more room to set. You can set your stuff on a table, a round table. So you're sitting around a table with about 6 or 8 different coaches, or your staff, or whatever.
Sure.
And then there's still a stage and a speaker up there, and it's pretty cool. But no, a lot of guys bring their. I brought my laptop one year. I just found this personal. I don't take notes very well on a laptop. I got to write them. Well, when I write something down, I remember it better than when I type it.
It's physiology.
Yeah,
you
kinesthetic learning or something like that, right?
Yeah, you do. You learn better. You remember better when you write it down. Yeah. So there's a benefit to that. I just think it's a habit for me because I'm a computer nerd.
You're an IT guy.
So, I don't know. I do like writing stuff down. Well, you see me. I write my practice plans down.
Right. Yeah.
So there are things.
And I type mine.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
And I literally write mine out.
I do too. I have a book that I write it in.
Yeah.
Then I type it so other coaches can read it.
Yeah, other coaches and the players, because I like what you do before practice. You post that thing up there, and then you kind of talk about it and go through it. So
yeah.
I have to look into that.
Yeah, do it. Let me tell you about this.
Give me something.
So we get there, and the first day that we're there, there are no sessions per se. There's a trade show, which is in another humongous area of this conference center, with hundreds and hundreds of companies selling their stuff. So when I say companies, like when you think about a trade show and a booth, someone having like a couple tables with a banner and they're selling their stuff. This was like Rapsodo had 2 cages set up, one for pitching and one for hitting, their own little stage where they could set up do presentations, sound system, big screen TVs all around their stuff. And then you've got a reception type area that you could walk over and talk to sales reps and pick up their literature and get free stuff. I got a Rapsodo hat, got Game Changer hats, got all kinds of. We just got all kinds of free swag stuff that you may not ever use, but pins, things like that. But that's what the trade show was like. Yeah. And so you're going around, and so all those type of companies are there: Rapsodo, TrackMan, Hit Tracks. All of those data collection type companies, but then you have everything else as well. Bat companies, glove companies, all the ones that you'll see. A lot of the ones that are at the ABCA will also be at the Ohio one. There's a trade show there as well. And in fact, a lot of people I talked to when they saw my name tag, which has a QR code on it, and we're living in a day where it's amazing. Like I didn't have to write anything down at any of these booths. Usually, you got to write your hand gets tired because you're like, yeah, I'll sign up for your stuff.
They're
just like, boom, QR code. Yeah, okay, I got you, and I'm going to email you some stuff. Email you, because you get discount deals for being there at the coaches, show and everything. But yeah, it's I don't know that it's just energizing to walk around. It's also discouraging
because of the resources,
because of the number of resources there are and the lack of funding that you might have to spend for those resources.
Sure.
And so I sent a funny text to our athletic director while I was walking around there. I said, hey, I sent him a picture of the trade show, little video. I said, having a heck of a time here at the trade show at ABCA. I said, I've decided that we need to increase our baseball budget to $25,000 a year. And he just laughed back. Now, it's funny, if we have it. Here's the thing, though. Somebody from Olentangy, Ohio, happens to be listening to our podcast. We're like, only $25,000.
Yeah.
I mean, there are schools where that's their budget.
Sure.
Hey, listen, fellers, if you have that kind of budget, try working your baseball program with a budget about $1,200.
Yeah.
Right. And ours is more than. I mean, it costs more than that, but you got to find ways to get that money as well. Like you might have it might say in your baseball budget it's $1,500 for the year. And that's going to buy you some balls and
that's the upfront.
It's going to buy your balls basically. It's going to buy game balls and practice balls. That's what that's going to buy.
Yeah.
And so how do you do anything else? You got to raise it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you walk around the trade show and you see all this stuff that you would love to implement, and you're thinking, man, this would make me a better coach, because that's what they're telling you. You need this to be a better coach, right?
Yeah.
You don't need it necessarily, but it sure would help.
Well, we've talked about that
very
before.
Helpful, right?
You have
right.
to,
all these resources.
You have to pick your battles.
Exactly.
You can't have it all.
Exactly. But
I tell you what makes you a pretty good coach is just having 9 all-state baseball players.
That's what makes you a good coach.
You give me 9 all-state baseball players.
You can have your Rapsodo.
Yeah, you can keep
right.
Yeah, that's what makes you a good coach. But it's not easy to do that.
That's not easy to collect those guys either, because you got to make them sometimes, right?
Yeah,
you got to make them. So, but we did have a session. It was funny because that first night they actually have sessions for all of the different levels of coaches. And so like NCAA had a session for all their coaches, and then they split them up between D1, D2, and D3. And they talked about, Brock told me that the D2 or the NCAA meeting, for example, was about rules changes and things like that, changes that they're considering, and they wanted input from the coaches, because this is actually where they have all of their actual meetings where they determine this stuff. The ABCA has hosted that for years for the NCAA. And then in Division II, in that meeting, they did things like they recognized all the conference winners, champions. They had the rings there and all that, and they talked about things pertaining specifically to Division II, and then 1 and 3 all did the same thing as well. Well, they also had a high school meeting. So the National Federation of High School Coaches hosted a meeting, and of course I went to that one. And they did the same thing. Some possible rule changes, which, by the way, there really isn't any major change. Points of emphasis they gave us, excessive celebration. So this just get you ready. Umpires are going to, whenever you have points of emphases,
sure,
your umpires are going to be.
It's an NFL term, isn't it?
All over it. Yeah. Well, what are the major points of emphasis in the NFL now?
No, you can't. Helmets, they don't work, so don't touch anybody.
Don't ever touch a helmet, right? Yeah, exactly. And so anything that's a point of emphasis, seems to be the focus of all the calls, of all the interaction between officials and coaches and fans.
That's a tough one,
it's
too,
weird.
excessive
Because
celebration.
you need that. Yeah. So that when they say excessive celebration, they're talking about, of course, all the things that happen at home after home runs and things like that. They're seeing, and when he showed a video, I thought, wow, that is creative. But I've never seen anything like that in our area. Like the kid hits a home run, and as they're waiting for him to come in to celebrate, you got one kid on another kid's shoulders with a jousting thing, and when he touches home plate, he knights him they took a bat and made it into a sword, and they knighted him. So they're like, this is what we're talking about. Like that, your coach you're going to get a warning, and your coach is going to be ejected if it happens again. That kind of thing.
Oh.
Okay. So that's excessive celebration.
I guess I understand the word excessive in that context.
Give him a high five.
Yeah.
Like, we'll take a high five. You can meet him at the home plate.
I was thinking, because I've seen the softball girls, after a home run, they gather around like a bunch of bowling pins and
that's the same kind of thing. That's what they're talking. They don't want anything that you're not using any props.
Right.
And then that kind of like choreographed. That was the word. Choreographed celebrations.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can see that. Yeah,
like what they're allowing in the NFL.
But you can get
now.
loud. You can
every
jump
time
up and
someone
down. You can
intercepts a
slap
pass,
a
they
helmet.
have to run 90 yards to the opposite end zone and do their little photo op. Those are the choreographed celebrations. So that's kind of the and then all the other ones are pretty much the same every year. Sportsmanship. Coaches sitting on buckets actually is one that they be ready for that.
Out in play.
Yeah, on the outside, like if you're at a dugout that has a fence and you don't like sitting behind a fence, sometimes umpires will let a coach sit on a bucket out there. I'm not a bucket sitter. Some of my assistant coaches are. Like I got two assistants that are, and one that likes to stand like me.
Yeah, but
I'm
they don't sit outside the dugout.
Oh yeah, I hate looking through a fence too.
No. They're out of play.
Yes, they're out of play, but like all players have to be inside the dugout. That is always a rule for National Federation of High School Sports.
Sure.
Unless they're
so are they not going to allow? Are they not?
So what happens is, even if a coach is out of play on a bucket outside the dugout, they're not going to allow it, because they said what happens is your players will come out and talk to you, and then so
it's really about the coach being out of the dugout rather than
basically the coaches are going to the way they set it up was, hey, you guys are supposed to be examples for your players, and so we want you to be in the same place as the players. So
I buy it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that big
I have a sore spot because I was in a 10U. I was at a 10U travel tournament this past summer, and I was sitting on the bucket filming so that people that weren't able to come to the game, could see the game. And this umpire,
you could get a clear view.
The umpire allowed me to do it, but then this other guy driving around on a golf cart.
That's the UIC.
That's the UIC, and I could add a couple letters in there to better describe it. But he said, you got to get inside the dugout. I didn't handle it very well, but that's actually on a Facebook page somewhere. You can go look that up if you want to see.
Oh yeah, the actual exchange.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. I didn't cuss, but it was
that's good for you.
Yeah. It was not pleasant. So,
well, we had in addition. So that was actually an umpire. He used to be a professional umpire, and now he scaled back his umpiring from all the travel he was doing, because he's got a family and everything. So now he's doing smaller college games, and he came into that presentation for us and everything. And he, and I tell you, he said something. I wrote this down because I actually really like this. I appreciate it, and this is an area that I've grown in as well. I feel over the years, just as I've gotten older, I've noticed myself doing this as well. I wasn't good at it at first, but he said, "I'll tell you something right now," and he said, "This is." He said, you guys need to go, and he said, if you ever get a chance to talk to NCAA Division I umpires, you ask them this question. And he said, I guarantee you almost every single one will tell you the same thing. He said, I'll tell you something. The coaches at the highest level of the game, during the game, hardly ever say a word. And you think about...
Hardly say a word as a coach.
As a coach.
Yeah.
What he's saying is, now he says, I guarantee you, during practices, they are front and center, boisterous. During team preparation, things like that, They're completely, they're different in terms of vocalness, right? And I wrote it down because I thought, yeah, that's a good word, and it goes back to the game is for the players and the practice is for the coach. And once if you've done your job as a coach, then they can do their job during the game without you having to be up front coaching them so much. Yeah. And really, I thought about that a little bit more after he said it, and it is fascinating because whenever you hear at these conferences and these clinics, Major League Baseball coaches speak, there's something about their presentation that just has a little bit more, like it's different. Like they've got the knowledge, they've got the personality, they've got the motivation. They're there for a reason. But what's the Major League Baseball manager stereotypical joke? They don't do anything. Right.
Right.
Yeah, because you see him sitting in the dugout.
That's why Dusty Baker is not the manager of the Reds.
People think they don't do anything, right? And they're wrong. What they're seeing on TV is exactly what this umpire is saying. The coaches at the highest level of the game, they know they don't need to say anything during games.
Yeah,
you really don't. If you've done your job as a coach, one, as a major league manager, gathering the right coaches around you as well to help. But even those guys, third base coaches, what are they doing? They're only directing traffic when that runner needs it.
Sure.
That's all they're doing.
Yeah.
They're standing down there and
giving them signs.
Right. Create, basically communicating the play that might be on for that particular pitch. But other than that, your coaches are standing there and letting the guys play. And I don't know. I thought that was a really good point. It's a point that we've made before, but it sort of emphasizes
it's good to hear.
that.
Yeah. It's good to see.
And it's good to hear from somebody's perspective like an umpire, because he's also saying it, in terms of...
Well, you can imagine that too, because, it's like, a major league coach isn't going to be shouting instruction from the dugout. The second baseman probably can't hear him anyway. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it just, you don't see that happen.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah. But if honestly, if you watch the College World Series, I think you see something similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see your head coach, standing in the dugout, kind of chatting with an assistant or chatting with players, and the players are playing the game. But I've seen some Division I college practices. You see them on video. That coach is very engaged in practice. There's just a difference, right?
Yeah.
Coaches, we coach in practice. That's the point. We coach in practice.
Yeah.
So
you better.
Yeah.
That better where that's where you're getting your stuff done.
Exactly.
We talked about that before. So
yeah. Well, here was the treat that we got in our high school meeting, though.
I've already.
This is still Thursday.
I'm getting filled up with information.
We're not going to have time to go through. I should just give a high level. But here's the treat. Brian Kane came and spoke.
Yeah,
in our high school
meeting.
I
was excited about that. I didn't know he was going to be there.
He wasn't supposed. Oh yeah, he was. Yeah, he was one of the main speakers as well on Friday, but he wasn't supposed to come to this. This is the type of dude this guy is. If you guys don't know who Brian Kane is, look him up. BrianKane.com. He has a ton of resources on the mental game.
Yes.
Of sports.
Quickly becoming a big component of sports.
And he is becoming a component of a lot more teams than what he first started working with. I mean, he's early on in his days, he's very well known for working with TCU and Coach Schlossnagle when he was out there working. He brought him in, work with his players, particularly pitchers. And Brian's also been a coach as well, pitching coach, but he works with all kinds of athletes from all different sports. I mean, softball, baseball, swimming, track, field. I mean, it's everywhere. But he is so energetic. It's tough. So we're sitting over there. It's 10 o'clock at night, and the NFHS guy says, the president, he says, hey, he said, look, we got a special treat for us tonight. We got 20 minutes. We're giving him 20 minutes. He said, I happened to pass Brian Kane in the hallway earlier today, and I asked him if he wouldn't mind coming and just sharing a few words, maybe like give a preview of his presentation to the high school coaches meeting. He's like, oh heck yeah. He said, how long do I got? And he's like, 20 minutes. He said, we'll do it. And so he was there. He got us. I mean, he he come, if you ever seen Brian Cain, like he always starts out with something energetic.
Yeah.
Like, in the main session, the session with everybody in it, he starts, you got like a rock song he's playing. He's got everybody out there off your seat. And he's like, he wants you energized. But then he also, what he does, and it's very intentional, he does things with the audience to get you moving, get that heart rate pumping, things like that. But then he'll slow you down. He'll teach you how to slow it down. Yeah. And what he does inside the presentation is he says, what you guys need to understand is you're in control.
Yeah.
Of the heat and the hot and the cold. You're in control of both, right? Everything that we're doing. He says, so here's what we got to do. We have to learn. We have to teach our athletes how they are in control of their minds, how they're in control of what they're doing. To focus on those things.
You got to practice it.
Yeah, and so he just gives you a lot of tools to do that with, and that's what he did that night. And I tell you what was really cool is he not only did I take 4 pages of notes in that little 20-minute time, but he said, hey, listen, I've only got 20 minutes here. He said one of the downfalls to speaking at these type of events is he said they bring so many people in to give you so much good information, and it's hard to digest it all. But he said it's hard to give it all too. For like I've got all kinds of stuff I want to give you guys, but I only got 35 minutes of my main session to do it. He said I got 20 minutes here tonight. He said, so here's what I want to do for you. He said my hotel is a mile from here. He said, if you go right now to briancain.com/ABCA or whatever it was, and you fill out that form. He said you'll see a running total of how many slots we got. He said I got a suite at that hotel that'll basically host 200 people. He said I got 300 cans of beer. He said if there's 200. He said the first 200 people who sign up for it, come on up. He said I'm going to give you everything I got for free. He said I'm just going to. He said not his books and things like that, but
knowledge.
Just, you sit down, you bring a notebook, you take everything. He said, and I'll also toss you some resources as well, some free stuff. But he said, and it'll just be a sit down round table discussion. And he said, I'll tell you why I'm doing it. He said, and he paused, and he doesn't pause much in his speeches, but he paused, and he had a microphone on, and you could hear him breaking down. He was tearing up. And he said, my first ABCA conference was when I connected with my mentor, Ken Revisa. You know who Ken Revisa is?
Mm-mm.
He's the author of that book I gave you for Christmas.
Oh, really?
The Mental Game of Baseball. Yeah. The Mental Game of Baseball was the book that changed Brian Cain's life, that gave him his whole platform that he has right now.
Wow.
Yeah. So there you go. Little extra.
Yeah, it's
token for what that book's about. Yes. Highly recommend it.
Yeah.
But he said Ken Revisa spoke at this conference, and then he said, I want to sit down with you guys that really want to take this stuff seriously. Because back then, nobody was thinking about the mental game. They just wanted drills, right? They wanted to know what to do on the field. They wanted mechanics, things like that. And he said, I went to that session, and I sat across from the coffee table with him, and we just sat and talked about this. And he said, I knew in that moment, this is who I want to be. This is it. This is the missing ingredient for why people aren't successful. They don't know how to control their emotions. They don't know that they are in control of their emotions, of their mental state. Yeah. And so and that's actually how he concluded that session. He said, I'll just give you one last thought, one last question that Ken Revisa said all the time. Every time he stood on a stage, he looked out there and he would say, look, men, if you had 3 days left to live, what would you do? If you had 3 days left to live, what would you do? And he said, would you coach? Go out there and coach them up. And
that's awesome.
Sending chills down my spine just saying it. But yeah. So that was before the conference even started, Pat. That was Thursday. Like the conference hadn't even started yet.
Yeah.
And so now we wake up Friday morning and it's 8:30 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night. And 2 days of that. Plus Sunday, if you stayed for Sunday, which we did. We stayed for Sunday morning and then left about 11 o'clock. But man, it was.
That is such a great message there. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I think people would roll their eyes at that. If you had 3 days to live, would you coach? I think people would roll their eyes at that and say, no, you're not going to do that. Why would you coach? Sure. But you know what? You would do it if you felt the way I did yesterday.
I know. Yeah.
Because that's
I'm with
it's
you
hard
there.
to top that.
Right.
So what else are you going to do?
I would want to
capture
give.
that?
I would want to empty my brain. I would want an audience. I'm not saying that I know a ton of stuff. I'm not saying that it's all about me. But I would want to make sure that as many kids as I could get together could have everything that was everything that I've got.
Yeah.
And I want to find a way to do that. I really, truly, honestly would. Yeah,
That's good stuff.
it is.
That's a good listen to you ramble for the past 40 minutes.
I haven't taken a breath. I'm looking at our waveform here on our podcast, and we've got a stereo channel, a track, my track and your track, Chris track, Pat track, Chris track. I'm sorry, buddy, you're not talking much on this one. I'm not giving you much chance to talk in this one.
Oh, well, maybe that's my fault. I haven't interacted enough. I feel like I've been engaged.
You will in 2 weeks. You will. When we come back from the Ohio one, you'll be like this.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll be able to handle it.
Well, and I mean, looking at your notes and looking at the notes in your program here, I can tell that there is a lot. Did you get this PowerPoint and video?
What page are you on?
39.
Texas A&M Jeff McMillan.
He's talking about plyometrics.
Strength coach. Yeah, he's a strength coach.
Yeah.
No, I actually haven't even emailed him yet. I've had so much stuff to do when I got back. I'm still decompressing.
I was interested in that.
I do
PowerPoint.
want. I'll share everything I've got. Well, that's the other cool thing about being a member of the ABCA. Like, even if you can't go to the convention and you sign up to be a member, it's $75 to be a member, or maybe it's one or the other. It's $75 to be a member, $100 to go to the convention.
Yeah.
That's it. Then you just you got to pay for hotel and travel and all that, but it's not expensive. It isn't at all. When you're a member, you get all of their videos.
Oh, yeah. You mean
from all of the past sessions of all the conferences that they've done. Yeah. And so if all you ever wanted to do in your downtime was learn from some of the best coaches, best baseball coaches in the game, you could literally go to the ABCA website and spend all your time doing that.
Wow.
I am replacing. So when I tell you, one of the things I'm doing is replacing some of the, I'm purging some of my Twitter people that I follow as well, and I'm finding areas of time that have been wasted for me and just replacing it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be replacing a lot of that time with this stuff.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I've been doing that on TikTok.
Have you?
I've been finding,
just
baseball
the stuff
and
that you want to
strength
that's beneficial to you. That's not a time waster.
And I've actually been saving a lot of TikToks just to go back to it. Good stuff.
Yeah, I agree. Oh yeah, when you see some of those infield drills and things like that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You don't want to forget it. I've spent way too much time before trying to go back and find an Instagram post because I didn't save it.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that you can actually save stuff on social media like that now, where you can go back and find it. Because what I mean by Instagram posts, I'm talking about there was a post one time of a bunch of kids, like 8-year-old kids, on their knees doing infield drill, like playing hot hands or whatever, But I'm like, man, I want. It was like an Aussie drill or something.
Yeah.
And but I wanted the video so I could show it to my kids, my players, and I couldn't find it. But I think it's good. That's the benefit of social media right there, using it for that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. The first main speaker of the session of the main sessions on Friday morning was Chris Lemonis from Mississippi State. They won the World Series last year, College World Series, and he was really good. I tell you, everything was really. And don't worry, folks, if you're listening, I'm not going to go through every single main session. I just thought I'd highlight a few moments, but
I think
that are relevant to all of our listeners too.
Anyone that's listening to know that they can have that resource available to them for that. I mean, $75.
We've just given you a gold mine. Everybody. Everybody's
that
listening. We've given you a gold mine. Yeah. A lot of these guys, I was really grateful for some of the main themes that sort of popped up in these main sessions. Like, I think ABCA is mindful of bringing in new and young coaches as their speakers, as well as what you consider to be old school guys. And make no mistake, even the old school guys are not set in their ways so much that they stood on that stage and said, to heck with all this data and analytics stuff. They're using it.
Yeah.
But there's a great balance. I tell you, the best session on that was Jeff Pickler. from the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah.
Yes, and he's a young guy. Jeff Pickler's what, 27 years old? He's 27 years old. He's young.
Is he? Is Jeff Pickler the?
Actually, he made that.
Is he a part of Driveline?
No, that was a different guy.
Okay,
but Jeff Pickler is the. If you find his page in there, it'll tell you what his bio is. But he is the. His coaching role with the Reds. It's amazing how many coaches these Major League Baseball organizations have. But his coaching role with the Reds is in creating the lineup, like game management, and lineup creation. Things. I mean, he has very specific role.
So lineup? Are we talking about like sabermetrics?
Batting order. Yeah.
Okay.
And
you mean that's what his job is for the for the Reds?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's wild.
Man, I mean, managers don't do anything, do they?
Well, he made some great points. He said, look, in reality, when you're creating a batting order, it's ultimately who you have in the order that's more important than what order you have them in.
Yes, I agree with that.
Hear that, all right? Coaches, parents, players, hear that. That's the truth. It really is about who you have. Who's hitting for you right now? Who's hot? That's who's going to be in the order.
And who's available.
Yeah. Yes. And so, there are different philosophies, right? Do you want to have length in your order? Do you want to string them out, separate them out a little bit, have a hitter, but then the other philosophy is let's string them all together, all the guys that are hot, all the your big hitters together. So he talked about that a little bit, but he also talked about the balance of feel and data, which is balancing what we know, right? Like my eyes aren't deceiving me here. I'm seeing an athlete right there, right? Yeah. And that's feel versus what we can actually see on paper, but what actually is happening, data. And he says, we don't use one or the other. We use both.
Right.
But you can't use one or the other. And
right.
It used to be just feel. They said the benefit of living in the day that we're living in and having those resources to collect data to help us make decisions, to make better decisions. He said sometimes you've got the data, but the guy that's coming up next hadn't done a daggone thing today. So you feel something different. And so you might not shift on him, or you might make him bunt, right? He did a lot about bunting.
Did he?
And it wasn't pro bunting. It wasn't
sacrifice bunting.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And that is he shows you the data, and he actually showed data for Major League College and high school as well, because it's out there now. And the percentages of successful, because winning baseball games is all about scoring runs.
Sure.
You score. That's the goal.
Yep.
Score runs, right?
And
the goal is to win.
Keeping teams from scoring runs.
Yeah. And the more runs you can score, and so there's a data point for Major League and college. Like Major League, basically the first team to get to this particular number of runs is going to be the team that wins, majority of the time. So for Major Leagues, it's like 5.4 runs. College is like 6.7 runs. I can't imagine what it is for high school. It's probably 8 or 9 runs.
Probably.
Really.
Yeah.
And so what they're saying is we want to get to 5. We get to 5. We get to 6. We get to 5. We've got a 95% chance of winning this game.
And if we do that consistently,
first team to 5,
it'll take care of itself.
Yeah,
it's like poker.
It's about runs, exactly, exactly. But that was good. But the whole point of bringing some of those specifics up is every coach on the stage had a little bit of both, whether they were 75 years old or 27 years old. Bruce Bochy was one of the speakers. Coach Bochy, and we got his book, Bochy Ball, which is a really nice book, a big, thick, hardcover book. We had to take it up to our room because it would have broke our backs carrying that thing around the first day. Every attendee got a free copy of his book.
Nice.
And then he literally would sign it for everybody that wanted it signed. There was a line. Brock and I walked out of his session to go get coffee, and we're like, "Oh my gosh, is that the coffee line?" And then we realized it wasn't. It was the line for him to sign the book. It was down the hall, hundreds of people, and he sat there and signed every single book.
Oh,
yeah. And what's really cool about these sessions too is they have the main session, and then right after every main session, over toward the expo theater, over outside the trade show, they have another stage set up with chairs, and you could go over there and they have Q&A sessions So like for every main speaker, they would give their 35-minute talk, and then they would immediately go over to that stage. And then if people had more that they wanted to have that guy elaborate on, they had microphones set up and, you know, some chairs for you to go over there. You could either stay for the next session because they're back to back to back, or you could go over there and do Q&A with that one. And then you still have the trade show going on. You got expo theater stuff going on in there where people are like, you know, demonstrating their products. There's just all kinds of stuff going on at the same time. I mean, it literally is overload.
Yeah.
And so, wow, we've been going for a while. I've been going for a while.
What day are we on? Are we
Friday morning still? But no, let me just say this, and this will be my word of advice to you and anybody else out there that goes to conferences or conventions and things like that. I learned this a long time ago, and you probably already know this, but the very first OHSBCA, Ohio High School Baseball Coaches Association conference I went to back in 2012 or so, I did exactly what I did at this ABCA conference. I took my notebook, I sat down front as close as I could get, and I wrote down everything I could possibly write down. And my wrist was sore. Took all kinds of notes, went back to my hotel, started basically writing down on a different page how I was going to implement what I just heard in my program.
Yeah.
And I had pages of stuff that I wanted to go back and implement. By the time the season rolled around, which is about a month later, that all kind of went out the window. It didn't go out the window, but it's impossible to implement all that.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
You gotta prioritize.
Your program is not their program, for one. And you just can't do it all. And Brian Kane actually does a really good job of pointing this out. He says, you know, you've got to have three things going on when you come to these kinds of sessions, right? 3 ways to keep it simple, I think, is what he called it. And I can't find my notes here where he said it. But anyway, you got to be like a sponge. When you come to these conferences and things, you got to take everything in that you could possibly take in. I mean, just soak it all in. Take all the notes you can, get it all. Because he said that's why you're here. But then he said you got to go back to all those notes and find 2 or 3 things that you know absolutely apply to you right now.
Yeah.
He said you pull those things out, and then number 3, go and do it. Go and do it. Don't try to do everything. It's like when you read a book, right? My new philosophy with a book, buying a book, is if I get one thing out of a book that I know is beneficial and helpful to me, it was worth the cost, and I could even stop reading if I want to. I've given myself permission to do that now.
Yeah.
Because I always felt like I had to read a book from cover to cover,
right,
or else I didn't truly read the book. But if I've got something that's going to change my life, and I'm good with that.
That's a good point.
All right, let's move to the next book.
You do that every month, just once a
Right.
month, every month for a year, or
Look at how
every year.
different your life is.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah. And so I did that. I spent some time, and there wasn't a lot of downtime, but I spent some time going through this notebook with a smaller one like this, and highlighting some things, underlining some things, circling some things, putting brackets around things that I knew during the session. Okay, I'm going to want to come back and get this, because really one of my favorite sessions was just pretty much, it wasn't a philosophical session at all. It was on Mark Martinez from San Diego State. He talked about infield play. Defense and infield play. And maybe in my mind, because I know that my one word for the year is thoroughness and small details, attention to detail, one of the areas you got to really have a lot of attention to detail to is defense. You play better defense, you're going to win. You got a better chance of winning.
Sure.
And so I really got a lot of great ideas in terms of daily practice routines. Right.
Nice. Yes.
From him, that I wanted to make sure that so it's a good mix, like the Brian Kane mental stuff that we're going to use in our classroom sessions, and some of our times that we're our skull sessions when we're talking to each other and we're really coaching them up in that way. But then also some very practical, stick and ball, glove and ball, things as well. And there's a pretty good mix of those. But I only have a list of 6.
There you
so
go.
In all of these sessions that I attended, 20 some sessions, right? I got 6 things that I'm going to make sure that we do this year.
Yep.
Yeah. I'll probably take 2 or 3 more from the Ohio one, and that's
Now,
good.
The next year, will you go back, or will you
And evaluate how that worked out for me?
No, well, I mean, that's a good idea to do that.
Yeah.
You
Right.
You probably want to do
Summertime
that.
is a good time to do that for
Sure,
a baseball
absolutely.
coach. Yeah.
Yeah. Think about how you implemented it and maybe what you could have done different.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that.
Right.
I just mean from all the notes that you have, would you go back and look at all those notes, say, okay, I picked these 6 things out of these notes. Now I'm going to pick 6 different things. Or is it just a new year and you
Right.
start fresh? I don't think there's a right or wrong answer
Right,
to
because
that.
you're also considering the group of kids that you have. You know your kids by now, right?
Right.
Even though we haven't had a single practice, we've had weight room stuff, and it's a small school district.
Yeah.
And so I know my kids, and
Yeah.
so I'm also going into it with that mindset as well.
Yeah.
Knowing what we're probably going to need the most when I create this list of 5 or 6 things.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've appreciated this. I think it's very valid for our mission on the Coaching
As a
Life
podcast.
podcast. And I'm sure the high school coaches out there, most of them are saying, you guys really aren't saying anything new or telling us anything we don't know. But from
That's right.
At lower levels, maybe people could listen to this a little bit and understand that you have the ability to be thorough. You have the ability to be very detailed in the way that you approach your responsibility as a coach to your to your youth. I'm thinking 13U and things like that. And the resources are out there to do that. Don't feel limited, because you have the ability to go out and find information that can help you be someone that's confident in the game and confident in important. I think you made a good point there earlier about knowing and being able to understand how to communicate the game to somebody. That's what a good coach is able to do.
That's what coaching is.
Yeah.
Finding the getting better at that.
Yeah.
I know I can get better at that. I heard one coach talking about how when they did the 2 years ago, when they had the conference all online, they were able to see themselves talking to, because you're looking at Zoom. And he said, I never realized how poor my body language was. And so something that I do now is I have somebody video me when I'm meeting with a player, when we're doing like our individual player development program meetings, or what, where we're sitting down talking to players about what, where we see you now and what some of our goals for you are, and what are some goals that you think you should create for yourself. He said, a lot of times when I was giving those meetings, because I thought, if my body language is that poor when I'm speaking to a crowd, like I'm not looking, my eyes are down all the time, and I'm looking way over there and way over there. I'm looking in the same spot. He said, what's it look like when I'm talking to a kid? Because I want to be positive.
Yeah.
And so basically, I'm just illustrating here that even these coaches at the highest level are finding little small ways to get better at even that, communicating to because it's all about communicating to their players. And he says, I want to be better. I don't want him to leave that room thinking that I wasn't confident in what I was sharing.
I love that
with
stuff.
them.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. Going back to pros, Darren Finster, who's from the Red Sox, talked about outfield play, and he gave a lot of great practical, drills, ideas for drills. But I circled one of the comments that he made in his, which is very common for all these major league managers and major league people to say, at these, when they're standing up and talking to you, he basically, it's just a quote: buy into the boring. You said coaches are sitting there going, "We're not telling us something we don't already know."
Yeah.
We're like, yeah, that's the stuff we need to know. The stuff that we already know is the stuff that we need. The stuff that and remind our kids
Thoroughly,
that.
right?
Yes, yes. There you go. Right? It's the boring work in practice that's going to translate to the big play in a game.
Yeah.
If you don't spend enough time doing the boring work, if you don't do it every single day, then when it comes time to make a big play on a routine ball, those are the ones we screw up.
You're right. You're right.
And so it's, that's why, it's tough for some of these guys who are told to come to this conference and do a session on infield play, outfield play, because it's like, we're not giving you guys anything that we're standing here for 35 minutes telling you stuff that you probably already do, but we're just telling you, do it again.
You're right.
And do it better.
Yeah.
And be more intentional about it. Just keep doing it. We're not reinventing the wheel when we play this game.
Yeah.
Any game, really. That's what the coaching life is.
good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you bringing a 1/20th of the information or less,
Pretty much
back to us and sharing that with us. I think knowing that, for people out there, that coaches and people that love baseball, they have the ability to go out and be a member and get access to that information.
And if you're not a baseball coach, if you listen to us and you're not a baseball coach, there are all kinds of organizations out there.
Sure.
And information out there, whatever it is that you're coaching, do the same thing. Be energized. Even if we bored you here talking about baseball the whole time, be energized by the fact that this stuff is probably available to you for wrestling or for volleyball or tennis, whatever it is that you do. There's one coach that showed video of his players going over and receive. They connect with their tennis team a lot in the preseason, like in the fall. He has his infielders pick.
I'll be darned.
Serves.
Great hop recognition. Short hop.
Pre-pitch. Pre-pitch and getting yourself, you can get yourself timed to where your feet are hitting the ground at the same time that ball's coming to the bat. He's like, I tell these guys, because they're hitting 110, 120 miles an hour. I'm telling them, fire them at them, right at them. And on a hop right out in front of them, and you got guys working on their pre-pitch movement and then snagging these balls.
I like that.
He said it's, it's not something we do every day, but he said it's kind of it's one of those fun different things that we do to mix it up. And he said our kids love it.
That's awesome.
Guys love it.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I wish I'd have had that. I didn't think about stuff like that, but the tennis courts at Athens were right up the hill from our baseball.
Well, that would
have been pretty cool to do.
I don't know. I never thought about using tennis balls indoor. Because you always go get the rag balls and things like that. I mean, tennis balls is a good
invite some people down who want to work on their tennis game. Say, hey, here you go. Here's your chance. Fire some serves over at us, and we're gonna try to react. And I think it'd be a fun game. Like if you have to be indoors.
You're right.
Yeah,
a little competition. The tennis team versus the baseball team.
And those kinds of little things are just. Those are gold mines when you just little ideas like that, just to mix it up. It's working on one thing, a variety of things, but it's infield skill, pretty much reaction. But how often does your third base get a shot hit that he's got to be ready for like that?
Yeah,
third baseman. Yeah. Again, if you're whatever level of coach you are, if you are a baseball coach. If you because we do know that we have several people who listen who probably the majority of our listeners are youth baseball people.
Yeah.
This organization is still for you. It's not just a high school thing. It's not. When you go to the main conferences, you will see a lot of stuff is tailored toward college, upper level, high school, coaches, context, I guess. But I didn't hear any of the youth sessions, so I don't know. Those might be a lot.
That's great. I didn't.
It's a whole different conference, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a conference within a conference.
It's an animal. I mean, it's its own entity for sure.
Is. Yeah.
For better or for worse.
Right. Oh yeah, and there was discussion about that as well, playing year round, things like that. Some people's. I heard one guy mention that, they had kids who were currently while they were at that conference, they knew of kids that were playing in a tournament down south somewhere, a Disney World tournament or something like that.
Yeah,
and,
I know.
The question you have there is, well, how ready are they for that? To roll a kid out there to throw a bunch of pitches in that tournament.
Well, I mean, they might be
What's
playing.
The benefit?
They might be playing year round.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing too. Yeah.
I've never really looked into that all that much because it's not something that we've ever considered doing.
Me either.
But
yeah.
I mean, the bottom line is the more you play, the better you're going to be. There's no doubt about that. I don't think you can argue against that.
That's true.
You got to weigh the benefit and weigh the risk.
And the age group.
Right?
Yeah. You don't need a 9-year-old doing that. I don't think. I mean,
but if you're,
that's a whole different discussion.
It is. We could talk about
right. Because a lot of these kids are, like in our area where we live up north. Right, we're in the Midwest. Yeah. It's cold here right now. It was 11 degrees this morning when I walked outside. Yeah. Right. How ready, unless you've got resources to make sure that your arm is in great shape, how ready are kids here to go and play a tournament in December or January, right?
You mean like to take a group of kids?
Yeah.
You're probably 2 or 3 at least, because everyone's going to say, "Oh, my kid's ready."
Sure.
But 2 or 3 of those, just imagine 2 or 3 of those aren't ready.
Right.
And then what's
Yeah.
the
and
cost of that?
right. Well, and even for older kids, right now it's a dead period for NCAA coaches. Like if you're saying, well, hey, exposure, there is no exposure.
Yeah.
I saw a Perfect Game advertising a tournament, a New Year's tournament or something like that, or Christmas week, like between Christmas and New Year's.
Oh, really?
And people jumped all over that tweet. They're like, "Are you kidding me?"
Hey, I know a family that they're playing right now, and I think they played in a Christmas tournament.
But I mean, like Perfect Game exists to help people get exposure to college coaches, right? There is no
I see what
exposure
you're
during
saying.
that time.
Right, yeah,
You're
true,
paying
true.
$900 to go and play in this tournament, and they're.
And these are younger people. Which I mean,
I'm
loves
eating up
it.
with baseball too. Don't get me wrong, but I saw another one. But the reason I saw it is because Butch Chaffin actually commented on it on the way home. A kid that threw a game, and he was on a roll. They said, ended up throwing 97 pitches on January 3rd.
But again, I don't think you can absolutely say that he's not ready for that. It just depends on what he's been doing, throughout the winter. Maybe because if you don't ramp down, but what is the cost of that? What's the cost of not ramping down? James Andrews says you should rest 3 months.
Well, even Major League Baseball players, the guys that get paid a lot of money to do it, take 2 entire months off.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Some kids. Some 10-year-olds aren't even getting a month off.
Right. Yeah. You're weighing the benefit of and the risk of maybe escaping an injury, but continuing to put that experience and that time into your bucket so that you're just more that much more advanced than other kids. And you got to think about the other sports that you play and things are one sport athletes, all the challenges with that. I mean, it's a huge conversation, and I hope I think I'm sure the people that I'm thinking about, I guarantee they've put a lot of thought and effort into thinking about those things.
Yeah, and we wouldn't want to say that parents and coaches haven't thought about those kinds of things.
No, I would just say do it. Be sure you do it.
Right.
It's not just a decision to say, "What do you want to play this winter?"
Yes.
It's not as simple as that. It's a conversation. It's a study.
It is.
For parents of young, really young people out there that maybe haven't made that decision yet, or don't definitely do that, because it's not going to work out for everybody. That's a fact.
It is a fact.
Yeah, and probably a lot more than it would. It's not going to than it will. Yeah.
Right.
So.
Good stuff.
Good to be back.
Good
Coach.
start to the year.
Yeah.
Good back. We got a new look. Our icon's got a little new look
that we're going to change soon.
We're going to change it again. Yeah, you got to have some similarity. I took all of the recognizable aspects to our podcast icon out when I first put that one out there. So we're gonna at least keep the same font.
Our graphic designer is being thorough this year.
That's right. I took a week and looked at it and thought, I don't like it.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it, but I don't like. I like it, but I don't like it for us. For us, I don't like. It could be better. So we're gonna get better.
There we go.
We're gonna get better.
Good deal.
So.
Hope everyone's doing the same, or at least trying.